In this video, we will learn about how to read data from your application's database. For this purpose, we will be using a simple data model, which consists of two models. The first one is the books, which holds information about some list of books, like the name of the book, author, user rating, it's a number between 1 and 5, the number of reviews, the price of the book, genre, whether it is fiction or non-fiction, and an object reference to a publisher. And in the publisher's model, we keep the name of the publisher, the most recent revenues in $1 billion, and also some information about the notable inputs of the publisher. There are a couple of different ways that you can get data, read data from your models, from your application's database. The easiest one is getting random records, random objects from your application's database. For that purpose, we will be using a specific node, get objects randomly. But let's first create an endpoint to use that node. So it will be get books randomly. This will be a get request, and the path will be books random, and we will be creating a new service for that one, get books randomly. Okay. Let's get into the details of our service. So for this purpose, for getting random records, we will be using get multi-objects randomly node connected to from the start node to the get multi-objects randomly nodes. For retrieved object model, we will be using books because we will be getting random books from the database, and we will be also returning these randomly retrieved books as a response back to the calling party. Right now, the size parameter is fixed, meaning that we will be getting 10 random books. I already deployed my application to an environment, so let's test this thing. If I click on test here, then I automatically see my endpoint that I created recently. By the way, AutoGIG automatically refreshes whatever design changes that you make in your services or data model to your execution environments, non-production execution environments. And if it is not working for you, then there is a configuration parameter here saying that auto redeploy changes to non-production environment. That parameter needs to be set as on, so that anything that you change, that you add, or that you delete are automatically reflected in your execution environments. So the first endpoint that I will be testing is get books randomly. Okay, let me check the API key is there. Let me run this thing. Okay, it retrieved 10 random records. So if I run this thing again, the books that I will be seeing will be different because we are fetching them randomly. As you can see, I'm getting some different records. Okay, so this is the simplest one. I can slightly customize this service, right? What I can do is the following. Maybe I can add a query string parameter saying count how many books that I would like to get randomly. I also need to set this count parameter in my get multi-objects randomly node. Instead of this fixed 10, I will be getting that parameter from the count, query string parameter count. And if I go back here, I can see the count parameter is here. Let's say that I would like to get the 20 books randomly. Or I can say like 5 books randomly. So you got the point. Okay, the next node that we can review, if I go back here, get single object by ID. Okay, so as its name implies, this fetches a book object from the database corresponding to a specific unique ID identifier. So let's create a new endpoint for that one. Get object by ID, get book by ID, sorry. And this will be books, and I will be passing the book identifier in the path of the endpoint, and the service will be get book by ID. Okay, so if I get into this service, then I will pull this get single object by ID here. Then I will be putting the response, okay, return success response for the book that I retrieved. So I will be fetching the information from the books collection, books model. The object ID will be coming from the path definition, book ID. Okay, so everything looks good right now. If I go back here, I can see the new endpoint that I can test. Let me pin this thing. The input parameter that I need to provide here is the book ID. Let's pick one of the books here. This is the ID of the book. If I put it here, then I should be getting that book information. Water for elephants. Water for elephants. Yeah. What happens if I put some ID which is not in our books database, right? If I put some random number ID, then AutoJig raises an error message saying that, hey, your service has completed execution prematurely, no success or error node ran during execution of the service. What this message means is the following. We use the ID here. The AutoJig tried to get that book information from the database, but it could not able to find a book corresponding to that ID. In that case, AutoJig triggers not found node. Okay, since there was no return error or success node connected to this one, it raised that error message. In order to fix that thing, what you need to do is return error response saying that, okay, I'm getting that one. I didn't find anything in the database for that specific book ID. If I run this thing again, as you see, the status code has changed to 404, not found. Okay, what else? What other nodes that I can use? The other version could be like get single object by query. Okay, it's similar to this one. It returns only just one object, but instead of querying the object by ID, it queries the object by the parameter or the things or the expression that you provided. So let's create another endpoint here. Get book by query, and this will be books query, and this new service will be get book by query. Okay, so let's get into the service definition. I will be using the get single object by query for this purpose, and I will be response node return success response if it is found. If it is not found, then I will be returning not found. Okay, and I will be creating the books collection, books table. Then the query will be as follows. Maybe we will be searching for the name of the book, right? Let's also pass the name as input parameter here, book name, and this will be a text parameter. Let's say that, hey, we will be looking for name match. The name of the book matches as the input parameter provided in the query string, right? Book name. If it matches, then we will be returning the book. So that's, if I go back here, if I select this one, pin this thing, then I need to provide an input parameter here. Let's use this one, Eclipse 2 Lite. Okay, let's put this one as the input parameter. If I run this thing, as you see, AutoJig also returned the book that is matching to this name from the database. If I put some random text at the end of this one, it needs to return a 404. Yeah, it couldn't able to find it because the name doesn't match. Okay, so that's the second node. Of course, I mean you can write much more complex queries in here using the data available for the book and also the input parameters that you pass here. Okay, what else? What additional nodes? We covered this one. We covered this one. We covered the random one. Then the final one is basically get multi objects by query. Okay, so I will again create a new endpoint for this one, get list of books, and this will be books, and the service, I'm creating a new service, get list of books. Okay. If I go to the details of this service, then I will be using get multi objects by query. Basically this node, get multi objects by query node, fetches a list of book objects data, list of data objects from the database. So let me put again a response, and I will be fetching data from the books collection books model. If I don't set any additional parameters, this node will return me the first 10 matching books from the database. Let me run this thing. Let me pin this again. Let me run this thing again. Okay, it fetched the first 10 records from the database. If I run this thing again, different than the random one, it will always get me the same results. the results will not change because I'm getting the first 10 records unless I entered or I created some new records in the database, of course. So what about, I mean, I also would like to get some count information, how many records are matching to my select query or filter query. In this case, I don't have any query, meaning that I would like to get the total number of books in my books model. So when I make this option yes, active, then AutoGIS automatically adds a new output to get multi-objects by query. This is a count information output. If I drag and drop it here, then I will also return this information as a response. So let me run it again. As you can see, the count information is also provided, saying that, hey, there's total of 361 books in the database, in the table, and since we are paginating by 10, you got total of 37 pages. We are currently on page number 1. If I would like to go to the next page, let's say 10 records between 11 and 20, then if I increase this number to 2, then if I run this thing again, I get the next 10 records. What happens if I put a, let's say, page number out of bounds, like 40, which I don't have? In this case, AutoGIS returns an empty list. Okay. What else I can do? Okay, let me keep this one 1. What else I can do? I can do some sorting on the responses, right? Let's sort the responses by name, ascending order. Okay, let's sort this thing. Okay, so it starts with this name. The numbers are coming first. The digits are coming first. Then, as you can see, A, and it sorts accordingly. What else I can do? I can of course add some additional sorting criteria, not only just that one, but some additional sorting criteria in here. I can do some lookups. What I mean by the lookup, as you remember, the books object has a reference to the publisher ID. So when I fetch the book data, if I don't do a lookup, I only get the identifier ID of the publisher. But if I do a lookup to the publishers, if I click on this button, it shows me the list of object references my book model has. In this case, I've got publisher ID, and if I click on this, select this one, and if I run my query again, look carefully to the publisher ID part. Okay, so it populates the publisher ID with the information fetched from the publisher model. So it basically joins books and the publisher models and gets the required information from the publisher and puts it back there. I can also do some additional things after the lookup, right? Let's assume that we will be querying our books by average rating, right? So for example, if the user rating is larger than if the user rating is bigger than 4.5 points, let's see how many books I will get. First, let's run this thing. Okay, 255 records. I can also do the following here, okay? And since I made a lookup to the publisher, I can use the publisher data in my queries, meaning that, for example, hey, on top of that one, I also would like to get publishers books from publishers which have a revenue more than $1 billion. Okay, if I run this thing again, let's see what happens. Originally it was 251, then I've got 220 records right now. So I can also see that the publisher revenues here, 3.3, 1.7, 1.9, all are larger than $1 billion. Okay, so that's the other note that I have. What else do we have for database? Another final note that we can use is get aggregate results by grouping. This is an interesting note I would like to show to you. Let me create another note for endpoint for this one. Get book stats. Okay, and the path will be books and stats. And I'm creating a new service for this one. Get book stats. Okay, let's get into this service. Let's pull this node and connect it to as a response. Okay. Okay. What this node does is the following. It does some groupings in your model and calculates some average, maximum, minimum, or count statistics for you. So I will be running this grouping on the books model. Okay. Right now I will not be doing any kind of filtering. I will not be doing any grouping. Let me add some computation parameters. Let me get like total books. Okay. I would like to get the count of total books. If I run this service, if I go back here and run this service, I've got 361 books. Okay. Let's see if I group these books. Let's see, I would like to group my books by the genre, right? Fiction and non-fiction. Let's see the breakdown. Okay, for this case, I get like fiction and non-fiction and the number of books, total number of books in each of this category. I can add some additional statistics here, like average rating. So I will be using the average, and I will be using the user rating. I can also add here minimum rating. Again, minimum, and I will be using the user rating here, and also the maximum rating. And I will be using the maximum out here, user rating. So let's run this thing out. As you can see, for fiction and non-fiction grouping, I can also get the minimum ratings, maximum ratings, and average ratings for the books. I can add additional cuts to this grouping. For example, I did a cut with the genre. Maybe I would like to see how the numbers look like by the price of the book plus the genre. Okay, so I get another cut here, price. If I run this thing, for each different combination of genre and price, AutoGIS calculates the statistics for that group, basically, like the non-fiction $36, non-fiction $1, and so on. So in a nutshell, these are the nodes that you can use to get data, created data from your application database. Thanks a lot for watching.